Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We said we only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dumped on.
Excellently, it was pressing to me. Descended from the parents, I inherited 3 passports. I can flex a triple residency. Probably why I'm passing boundaries so effortlessly. If a rapper wanna step, they step with hesitancy. Cause I'm breaking with ease. Flow epidemic on these beats that I finessed in the beam. And got a reservoir of seconds I can spend on you tweets. Think I got a ton of patience, homie, tested to see. I undertook a mission with impossible odds. I can't cruise with no time, uncles, I'm obviously not easily boxed. That's why they be asking what do I rock. It's Tino Ranga, Tito Tonga, and abolish the cops.
Oh yeah, unapologetic with my fanatic, don't fear. Metal up the team, there ain't no pedestal here. It's real, we don't do pity, aesthetic, not here. But we nice right here, cause we only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We said we only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dumped on.
Word to the tatters who robbing me on my flowers. I'm working too many hours, check the time sheet. Cut the sugar out my life, but she's telling me that I'm sweet. I'll sleep when the job was done. So never too clever. Who's your favorite? I'm better. Flow wetter, froze ready like Eddie from Motekin, huh? Insecure in your position, so you checking up. Take the front without the rear. Out of love or out of fear. I ain't got no competition. Listen, looking in the mirror. Oh yeah, saying that you love me just so you can be my peer. Remember when they hated cause I had a different hair. Now they wanna be invited when it's time for throwing cheers. What the f you think this is? You wanna know the man, but you was trying to kill the kid. Trying to ride my train, you wasn't giving me a lift. Tragic, self-evident to everyone, you ain't no maverick.
We only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dumped on. We said we only rock with.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the 3&D podcast, the home of Australia's favourite basketball podcast. I'm your host, Nabs, and today we are covering the weekly recap of week 1 of the NBA. I'm coming to you live on YouTube in Australia, the home of Paddy Mills, Jock Landau, Diop Reith, Joe Ingles, and many, many more. We'll be talking about a few of those Aussie NBA players later on in the show. This will be the weekly recap. We're going to cover some of the most interesting things that have happened over the past week in the NBA. And guys, look, if you are joining us, we really do appreciate your support. Do consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Really does help us out. Now, with all that being said, I did say that it was an interesting week. It started off with a bang, and who better to show it, let us know what kind of start we had than our mate Steve Ballmer. So this was Steve Ballmer at the new stadium. And you can see him absolutely going off. Now, he's standing at the section of the new stadium, the Intuit Dome. And he's standing actually in a section called The Wall. This has been absolutely reserved for those die-hard Clippers fans. And I'm a big fan, to be honest. I've spoken about this stadium for a while, been looking forward to it launching. And the Clippers themselves have absolutely embraced it. There's been a lot of fanfare and events that have happened, and we'll cover some of that in a minute. So that's how it started. And unfortunately, this is how the week ended. So we had the unveiling of the Dwayne Wade statue. And unfortunately for him, I don't know who that guy is that's in bronze there. There's been a lot of memes, as you can imagine, some comparing it to... So even Dwayne Wade himself actually mentioned, who is that guy? I think he was just saying it like as in he was impressed that he was actually enshrined in bronze. But some of the memes that have come out I thought would share here. And this is a splitting image. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne statue, it's 1 for 1. I mean, they got the teeth wrong, but it's almost there. I don't know who they're hiring to do the statues. We had a similar incident last year. I think it was with Allen Iverson's statue. They made it extremely small. I mean, the NBA really needs to look in, or the owners really need to look into who they are hiring for these statues, because it's getting a little bit embarrassing now. So we spoke about the Clippers and the Intuit Dome. So we will continue on. Let me just pull up some of the cool features that I wanted to share with you guys if you haven't already watched it. So they had their first home game against Phoenix, and let me just find it. I don't know where I've put it. Okay, there we go. So I mentioned the wall. The wall was pretty intimidating, and even some of the most seasoned veterans did mention they really did notice it. So Kevin Durant was quoted here saying that he absolutely loved it. A lot of people have likened it to some of the college games with the fans and how the students absolutely get involved with rallying for their teams. The other cool feature that I thought was really cool is the halo, or what they're calling the halo. This is a massive LED screen that wraps around the middle of the stadium. And this is a really interactive aspect of it that I thought was something completely unique. So you've got the players showing up on the screens looking like they're throwing they're doing the t-shirt toss, and the t-shirts are being launched from behind or above the players, giving the illusion that the digital representations are actually throwing the t-shirts. I thought that was a really cool touch. Shout out to Steve Ballmer. What he did with this was absolutely amazing. I hope that this is the standard that all new stadiums will look to and hopefully get better. One thing that I'd really like to see eventually in the future, in Las Vegas, they've got this new dome. I think it's called the Dome. It's this massive LED structure in the middle of Las Vegas Strip. It's shaped in a ball or a dome, and the LEDs just wrap around the whole building. The whole outside and the inside is LEDs. I'd love to see a basketball game played in there, but moving forward, I'd love to see a stadium take on that level of technology with their new designs. That would be really cool and really interesting. Now, just coming back to the Clippers now, we had some unfortunate news from the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi has been off for quite some time. He's battling injury, and there was some news that came out today that actually came out earlier in the week, last week. One of the team, or one of the trainers, has come out and is suing the Clippers, and there's been some revelations because he's taking this to court. Some of the information the information is available, publicly available, when someone gets sued, I believe. And there's been a lot of info leaked or made public, but some of the interesting things, the trainer himself, he's actually suing the Clippers, but within the court documents, there were some mentions that there was potential tampering violations as well. So I don't know what that means for Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, but I can imagine that Adam Silver will be getting involved pretty shortly to kind of quash this or get ahead of it. But I wonder what that means for the league with regards to these extended injuries and the treatment, and how the teams will kind of tread with the players moving forward, and how much effect that might have. We are seeing some other instances of these extended injuries. For example, Embiid, he's also out, and he's come out publicly and said that he's going to not play back-to-backs, to which I believe there has been a statement from the NBA. Let me bring that up. So Shams leaked earlier in the week that Embiid is likely to be investigated, or the Philadelphia 76ers are likely to be investigated with regards to this statement and much more to do with Joel Embiid's injury and his return to the game. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Joel Embiid, but I can't deny that he's an absolute talent. I'm sure the Philadelphia fans would love to see him out there. The NBA fans abroad as well would love to see him out there. Your people in Cameroon would like to see you kitted up and ready to go. So it is unfortunate, especially seeing as the Philadelphia 76ers have acquired Paul George, and also Paul George is injured and he's not playing. So you've got two of the top talents, two of the most promising talents for Philadelphia not playing. And it seems like every year we have some issues with Philadelphia. I don't know how much more you can trust this process. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It just seems like they just can't get ahead of it, and they can't seem to push forward and compete at a high level. They have some postseason success, but it always gets hindered by injury or some other front office or internal issues. So it is a shame, but we'll move on to some other injuries. So there has been an unfortunate injury. This one was an absolute shame. So there's been two actually freak injuries. So one of them is unfortunately the young Jason Wiseman, the ex-Warrior. He has torn his Achilles, and I was watching this game, and when I saw him turn around and look back at his leg, I mean, I just got deja vu with KD having a similar experience, and others as well. And immediately, I mean, not just me, but others suspected it was an Achilles, and later it was announced that he has torn his Achilles, which is very unfortunate for James Wiseman. He went from, I think, number 1 or number 2 pick to struggling to fit in with the team and being moved around, not being able to develop in one place. And now this, it's an absolute shame, and we wish him all the best. We wish him a speedy recovery. And yeah, we'd love to see him back on the court. He was, I mean, in Indiana, he seemed like he would be a great fit alongside potentially the Eastern Conference champs, or almost the Eastern Conference finals finalists. It's definitely unfortunate. We would have loved to see him play in a team that potentially could contend in the East. There was some other injury news. Another one which is unfortunate. DeJounte Murray just got moved to the Pelicans, looking like it was going to be an interesting front court. He was going to run point with Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. And unfortunately, he has fractured his left hand, broken his left hand. So he'll be missing some significant time. The Pelicans themselves look like they are struggling. I think they still haven't got a win. Actually, sorry, they did win against Portland, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But definitely a shame. And today, one of the most unfortunate for me as a Warriors fan, Steph Curry twisted his ankle or rolled his ankle not once but twice in the game, ending up going to the locker room and not returning after the second quarter. So that's an absolute shame for the Warriors. It's an absolute loss for the Warriors. They looked really good in the preseason. They had a hot start to the week. They went 2 games. They won their first 2 games on the road. Lost today to the Clippers at home. And even with Steph Curry out there, it looked like last year's Warriors still not being able to get it done at home. Their offense was really lacking today compared to the previous games in the preseason where they were running really fast. The Clippers, credit to them, did a great job defending the perimeter and just really clamping down on their key players, Steph Curry and Buddy Hield, not allowing them to get some clean shots up. And it just looked like a discombobulated Warriors team. They had crazy amount of turnovers. I think they ended with 20 turnovers. Off that, it led to 20 plus points. So they didn't lose by much. I think they ended up losing by 8, but still, you're not going to get anywhere with 20 turnovers and just not having a flowing offense. What's worked really well for the Warriors has been their transition. So I'd like to see that run and gun with the young core continue on, and they're going to need to find that level of offense without Steph there. It's likely that he might miss some time. We still don't have any information on that other than just the visual. I saw him go over toe first twice on the left ankle, and yeah, they're really as a basketball player, just when you're rolling just on your, if you're rolling out, normally you're stretching and warming up enough to be able to continue and to, walk it off, so to speak. But when you go toe first and twist, that does all kinds of, strains and stresses on your ankle and ligaments around it. So I'm not a doctor, but personally I've had a similar toe first ankle roll, if that's what the technical term is. And yeah, it's not comfortable. It really mentally it can be problematic as well, because you start to kind of compensate, and it can lead to other injuries. So we'll watch closely to see what the Warriors will do. They still have some absolute guns and absolute stars on their team, so we'll see what happens with that. Now, I did talk about the Pelicans. One of the most interesting stories has been Brandon Ingram playing Portland. Now, just before I speak about this, I do want to mention the scheduling has been really interesting. The Pelicans have played Portland at home, or at Portland, twice in the past couple of days. It's a very interesting scheduling. I don't remember the last time that's happened, back-to-back games in the same place. Very unusual from my perspective, but the Pelicans won 1 and lost 1. The first game that they won, it was a game winner for Brandon Ingram over Anthony Simons. And I'm just going to play this clip because I thought this was quite interesting. Let me bring this up.
showed Anthony Simons who the real daddy is after hitting a game winner on him. What makes Brandon Ingram scoring a game winner over Anthony Simons so great is that they both share a baby with the same woman. Aliyah Petty has a child with both Ingram and recently Simons. If you think this isn't a rivalry of the baby daddies, here's what was said to Ingram after the game winner.
That's hilarious. So, as you heard from there, Brandon Ingram and Anthony Simons, they share the same baby mama. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the NBA, these youngsters. It's weird. It's weird the way that they match, with their relationships outside of the game. In this instance, Brandon Ingram and Anthony Simons have the same woman, and we've seen this many times before, Kendall Jenner and so on. And I'm not going to talk too much about that, but they dubbed the meeting between Anthony Simons and Brandon Ingram the Battle of the Baby Daddies. And if we're keeping score, Brandon Ingram got one and Anthony Simons got the other one. So it's all tied up there. Now we'll move on to the LA Lakers. The LA Lakers have had a hot start. They're leading the West at the moment. Now, just before I get into it, actually, there was two parts to this. So LaMelo Ball's back, as we mentioned in the previous episode, and they got their first win with their new head coach. And as you can see, the boys celebrating there with their head coach's first win. And a similar sight was happening over in LA with JJ Redick getting his first win. And that's always good to see, a head coach getting their first win. And especially JJ Redick, with all the controversy that's gone around it, around him and the Lakers, it's really good to see that they're doing well so far. It's only been a week, but they are having quite a good start, and we can definitely see the impact that JJ Redick has had. Now, I'm going to stick with JJ Redick because after that game, he made some interesting comments.
Send in a request for the league tomorrow that we can play with worn-in basketballs. I'm not sure why we're playing in real games. I'm being dead serious. I'm not sure why we're playing in real games with brand new basketballs. Anybody who's ever touched an NBA ball brand new, it's a different feel and touch than a worn-in basketball. I didn't realize it till a timeout. There was a long rebound. I grabbed it. I was like, what? Why are we playing with this ball? Give the guys the opportunity to pick a good basketball.
That's quite unusual. I've not heard that before. I mean, I have heard players like, to have the ball worn in. There's been a few players that have mentioned that when the ball's got sweat on it, it gives you more grip and more feel. So I get that, but I mean, come on, JJ. You guys are professional players. I'm sure you can handle a new ball or an old ball. Hell, you just shoot with a soccer ball as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you should be able to handle a new ball or an old ball. That seems very petty. Sticking with the Lakers and sticking with, well, not petty, but this was LeBron James talking to one of his teammates. Actually, sorry, before we get to that. So in the same game, I forgot to mention this, we saw an interaction, and Anthony Edwards, he has not stopped from last season's trash talk to this season. He's on a hot streak. There was some back and forth between him and one of the bench players on the Lakers. I think it was what's his name? He's been injured a while. I forgot his name. Vanderbilt, that's it. So Vanderbilt was talking some trash on the sideline. Anthony Edwards turns around to him and says, you've been hurt for 2 years, you know, and you said some other words, but I'll play that here. Let me just bring it up. You can see AD laughing his ass off there. You gotta love that. I mean, that's just NBA basketball at its finest. I love the trash talk. I love Anthony Edwards getting into it, and he's sparing no one. He's taken on the bench. He's taken on the players on the court. He's taken on the legends. He's sparing no one. Now, I did mention before that LeBron James had some back and forth. This was with their second home game, and in this game, LeBron absolutely balled out in the fourth quarter, leading his team, putting them on his back and getting that win. I think he ended up scoring something like 14 plus points in the fourth quarter. And this was an exchange between him and Rui, which I'm all for it, to be honest. I mean, damn. So leading up to this, LeBron was making, I think he made like 3 3-pointers in a row or 3 shots in a row. He was feeling it, and Rui ended up with the ball. I think he took a short, it's either a mid-range or a short jumper, and missed it. And when they came to the timeout, LeBron was waiting for him just to let him know that he's got to get it to him. Lakers, like I said, they're on a hot start. They're having a brilliant start to the season. Now, in contrast, one of their largest rivals, the Celtics, they've also had an amazing start. The first game, they absolutely blew out the Knicks in the first 2 quarters, I think, before the half. They ended up winning that one by something like 30 plus points or something like this. Looking like the reigning champs. I mean, credit to them. They have not skipped a beat. Porzingis is not back yet. He's still dealing with foot injury, I believe, recovering from that. But I don't see why you'd rush back when you're playing this well. Celtics are absolutely amazing. Now, one thing I have noticed, a trend that's happening amongst most of the teams, is this really quick transition scoring. So off a made bucket, we're seeing within 1 to 2 seconds a score by the opposition. It happened with the Kings against the Lakers. I think there was like several times where AD would get a dunk, and being Showtime Lakers, they would flex and celebrate, and before they even had a chance to do that, the Kings were all the way down the other end of the court scoring and waiting for them to inbound the ball. So this has happened with the Celtics, happened with the Kings. I'm noticing it with the Warriors, and it's keeping everyone on their toes. I'm seeing a trend. I'm wondering how this will pan out over the coming weeks, so we'll keep an eye on that. And the scoring itself has been, we're seeing scores of well over 30 points. There's been a couple of overtimes. I'm wondering at what point Adam Silver is going to get involved to try to control or limit the scoring like he did last year with those interesting adjustments to the refereeing or the reffing calls, or how the game was being called. So we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, it's something that I'm noticing, and I'm wondering how far this will go. Now, leading up to that, some of the most exciting basketball is coming up, and it's in the form of the NBA Cup. We did in previous episodes, we've shown leaks of the actual courts, but they have actually released now what the courts will look like, and they're already starting to make them. So I'll bring that up now. So that's the Warriors one, but let's just roll them. So they flick through quite fast, but you can see very bright colors like last year. Some really interesting stuff. And as always, well, since last year anyway, the NBA Cup has been absolutely box office. This year, as we mentioned, it's the Emirates Cup, so Emirates has been heavily pushing that. So it'll be quite interesting to see how big it will get and what is the ceiling for it and what is the next step. Where do you go from there? I'm hoping that we eventually push towards a intercontinental type tournament, in-season tournament, which I think Adam Silver is pushing for. But in order to do that, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, they're going to have to make it universal rules. So you're going to have to go to FIBA. It's just has to happen. It's the only way that you're going to be able to get to that stage. So we hope that it gets there maybe in 2025, 2026. See what happens. So just to wrap things up now, we have had a week of basketball, and the Eastern Conference ladder is shaping up to look a little like this. That's Zach Edey. Let's get rid of him. Okay, so as I mentioned, the Celtics still undefeated, 3-0. Cavaliers also 3-0. The Magic have lost one, and the Hawks are looking pretty good as well. They had a couple of interesting wins, and as always, the Wizards and the Pistons, they are in the prime position to make a run for Cooper Flag. It's the Cooper Flag raffle with some of these teams. One interesting team that I'm watching is the Nets. Ben Simmons has played a record 3 games so far, so that's really good to see. He hasn't had too much of an impact, and he's still showing some type of, I don't know, mental block or something with regards to shooting. I keep seeing him passing up open shots. It's happened a few times in the games that I've watched. The coach has been playing him interestingly. He hasn't been giving him a lot of minutes. There's been times where maybe it's a matchup thing that he's sat Ben Simmons and replaced him with some of the bench. But Cam Thomas has absolutely been balling out for the Nets, and it's really good to see that young star getting more playing time, because obviously when he had superstars in the likes of Kyrie, KD and James Harden, he was that rotation piece, but now he is a permanent starter. There was some interesting incidents that happened with the Hawks and the Nets. So one major incident that happened involved one of our Aussie stars, Dyson Daniels. So Dyson Daniels was leaking out for an open layup, and Claxton closed in on him late and took him out in a very awkward position. It was a hard foul. Dropped Dyson Daniels, and immediately they had to be separated. It did result in an ejection for Claxton, and rightfully so. It was completely uncalled for, which is it's quite out of character for Claxton. I don't think I've ever seen him in that way. He's normally the one that's being bullied, so it was very reckless. But there's definitely some bad blood now between them, and I'm looking forward to the next matchup. The Bulls Lonzo Ball has been, I don't know if he's on a minutes restriction, but he hasn't been playing as much, and it's unfortunate. Josh Giddey has been part of the rotation. His stats are quite good, but it's not resulting in wins. Kobe White has been balling out. Zach LaVine has been steady, and I'm hoping that they can get that mix right and get that rotation right, because I'm really looking forward to seeing a really strong Bulls team this season. And after their first loss, the Knicks have bounced back and won one. They're still very reliant on Jalen Brunson. I really don't think that that's going to be sustainable. Cat has been there and has shown up for short periods, but I don't know. I don't know if I like Cat and losing Dante and Julius Randle. Julius Randle I could give or take, but losing Dante DiVincenzo I think is really going to hurt them. But I'm still, as much as I like the Knicks, I still don't know if that's a winning formula, being so reliant on Jalen Brunson's scoring. So that's the East. Let me know what you guys think of interesting teams, up-and-coming teams, where you see teams position. Normally around this time as well, there's always some really outrageous hot takes, and I've seen a few. I was going to mention a few, but I'll leave that for the next episode with Moz and Yoz. This one's just a quick recap before we move into week 2, which will start tomorrow. Now, moving on to the West, as I mentioned, the Lakers are absolutely dominating at the moment. They're 3-0. They have had a couple of games at home. They will be on the road for a long period. Now, some news about Bronny. It's likely that he will be going to the G League after this road trip, spending some time in the G League, and I think it's a good decision. He needs some more minutes. He needs to develop. He needs to play professional ball. He hasn't played that. He's only really played high school and college, and not even a full, season at college. So I think he really needs to push himself and play in a tougher environment, a more professional environment. And the G League isn't, the NBA, but it's still going to give him some minutes and hopefully develop those skills. Having said that, another young guy that's came through the draft for the Lakers is Connect, and Connect has been an absolute solid piece for them. He's been shooting lights out. JJ Redick loves him. The one thing I want to say is, why is he not number 4? That would have been absolutely amazing. Connect 4. I don't know why that didn't happen. The Lakers should have leaned into that from a promotional standpoint. But some other news is he actually signed with Jordan Brand. So he will be rocking the Jordans, I'm guessing. Whether he gets a SIG, I don't know. But Jordan Brand tends to not give signature shoes very easily. Now, moving down, some of the similar teams that we expect to see all the time up in the top of the ladder of the West. The Thunder, the Pelicans, pretty strong, 2-1. I don't know if they're going to get a lot of wins this season with this current format. I do see them struggling on offense, so we'll see how that pans out. Ja Morant's Grizzlies looking like a rejuvenated team. Now, they are still missing Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. So when he returns, it'll be really interesting to see that lineup, especially with AD in the mix. AD has been absolute tower down low. Just a little bit of footwork training development needs to happen, needs to develop. So we'll see how he eases into the NBA season. I mean, you've got someone like Ja Morant, who's absolutely pass first type player, playing alongside of him, you're going to have to develop really quickly. So we'll see how that pans out. And one of the crowd favorites, Yuki, the summer's Japanese hero in the Olympics. He's now with the Grizzlies. He's absolutely loved every time he jumps on the court. So be interesting to see how much game time he gets. He is quite undersized, so I don't know how much he will get, but it will be interesting nonetheless. And the Suns, Clippers, Timberwolves, all in those positions that we expect. The Warriors did finally lose a game, and they had to lose it at home. I did mention that before. The Spurs with Chris Paul, they're looking like they could be, they could make some moves this season, but I don't know if it's enough at the moment. I think their core is still not there. They have the right coach, they have the right point guard, they have the right talent in Wembanyama, but I still don't think it's ready. I don't think they're at that stage yet. What's interesting to me is the Nuggets and the Kings. They're winless at the moment. The Kings have looked promising. De'Aaron Fox, I think that dynamic between him and DeRozan has got to be worked out. Domantas Sabonis is looking like an MVP candidate, but if they don't get wins, obviously that's going to get them nowhere. And the Nuggets, I don't know what to say about the Nuggets. Jokic is literally carrying that team. I was concerned with the move with Russell Westbrook, and it's just not working at the moment. I don't know if it's the way he's being used, or he's not an offensive threat, and that's what they're lacking is offense. That's what they were lacking last year. So I don't know about the Nuggets. I think they've got to make some moves. I don't think they can continue down this path. I don't know if teams have figured them out, but it's just not working. And the other interesting team to note is the Mavericks. Now they are 1-1. They will be playing tomorrow, I believe. The trade or the new teams. So I want to talk about two players on X teams that. So I want to talk about Buddy Hield and Klay Thompson. So Buddy Hield has had a strong start to the season. He's been shooting lights out. He's setting records. I think he's scored the most three-pointers to a start of a new team in NBA history. Very obscure record, but he has been absolutely killing it. He's been the rock that Klay Thompson used to be from perimeter for the Warriors. And in contrast, Klay Thompson has been the Klay Thompson that he once was at the Warriors for the Mavericks. And there's some really interesting clips that are going around. We have posted them on our Instagram, so do follow us on Instagram. You'll see some of the reels there where there's comparisons, side-by-side comparisons between Luka Doncic assisting Klay Thompson and Steph Curry assisting Klay Thompson and the Warriors. It's a little bit sad to see. Obviously, we wanted to see that Klay Thompson at the Warriors towards the end of it, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Good for him. He looks like he's revived his mentality. He looks revived at the Dallas Mavericks, so we wish him all the best. And they're looking good with Luka, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson, and a host of solid pieces around them. So I think the Mavs will definitely be making another run. They were last year's finals runner-up. So that's where we're at after week one. Now, that is it for today. I did want to make just a quick recap of the week. Guys, if you like what we're doing, like I said before, like, share, and subscribe. If you have some feedback on the content that we're delivering, if you like this format, having a weekly recap and then a discussion show between the three of us, Mozios and myself, let us know what you guys think. If you have any interesting topics that we haven't covered for the week, things that we've left out, maybe we've snubbed your team, let us know in the comments below. With all that being said, until next time, peace.
Beat up, bullied, and dunked on. Beat up, bullied, and dunked on. Bullied and dunked on. Yeah. Let's get it.
We only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dunked on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and dunked on. We said we only rock with Mavericks. If you a clone, then step off the canvas. Lest you get beat up, bullied, and dunked on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied, and
I
dunked
moved
on.
excellently. It was pressing to me. Descended from the parents, I inherited 3 passports. I can flex a triple residency. Probably why I'm passing boundaries so effortlessly. If a rapper wanna step, they step with hesitancy.